This morning we'll start off in the Explorers Cafe. This is an area at the very front and at the very top of the ship where the exploration team comes through, and they have maps of the animals you might expect to see. Somebody wrote all the check marks by the ones apparently that they saw, but it wasn't me. But you can go up here and look at all the ones you could expect, and we've seen many of them. You can also write down any kind of questions that you have for the exploration team. They have paper up here, and you just write it down, and whenever they get time, they go up and they check out this area and see what kind of questions have been asked. And they'll write the answer down and pin it up on a board. That way you can answer questions or ask questions anytime, and they can answer them at any time. This Explorers Cafe was on my regular walkabout rounds in the morning. I'd walk around getting my exercise in, and this was always a quiet place, so I could step in and read all the questions people asked with nobody there, and look at what kind of animals were there. Today is another cold day. It's 32 degrees again, and this is a measure of the seas. The pool is rocking a little bit as we're on our way to Elephant Island this morning. It's 32 degrees again, so right at freezing. But later on, at the back pool that's exposed to the air and the cold, we're having a polar bear plunge. So I'm gonna jump in the pool. 32 degree water. So we're gonna see how that goes. But right now, whale watching. So we're going up to the observation deck and see if we can spot some whales and look at the icebergs. We can see penguins already, but not the real kind of penguins. These are just fake penguins. As you can see, we're leaving the Antarctica area and our last stop, Elephant Island. But first, it's still blistery cold outside with a good bit of winds. And as you can see by the bow camera, there was a little ice overnight accumulated on the deck. Today's spotlight on the What's Happening page is a spa. Yeah, the spa on the ship is a full-service spa. They have all kinds of things. They have massages, facials, saunas, all kinds of things. Whatever you could think of, they have it. Of course, my wife talked me into getting a massage one time. It was a couple's massage. So the two of us were together. They had us hold our hands together and lay down next to each other. And of course, the scenery was nice looking outside the spa area. But they both gave us both a massage. And, well, I didn't care for it that much. I just don't like other people touching me. So, yeah, it's not my cup of tea. But Cheryl, she loved it. And this massage was billed at $150, but it was actually $150 per person. So, yeah, that was something else that made me uncomfortable. That's a lot of money. If I want to be uncomfortable, I can go to the dance club and get on the dance floor and be uncomfortable for a whole lot less money. Looking at the birds flying in the morning, right next to the ship. Trying to pick them up a little breakfast. And I believe these are more of the Antarctic petrels that we see flying around. There was a school of them earlier, but just trying to keep your eye on one of them is hard.
Speed of 16 knots, so we could arrive earlier at Elephant Island and spend some more time sightseeing. Around 10:15, in about half an hour, we will enter a mandatory slowdown zone, as there will be a high concentration of whale activity in this area. Then at 11 o'clock, we will have the bow open, as we should be able to see Elephant Island nice and early. Then we will sail around the eastern part of the island and make our way to Point Wild, and ice depending, I expect to be there around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The island will be on our port or left-hand side. So again, at 11 o'clock we will open the bow, also deck 5, 6 and 7. We should be able to see the island starting around 11 o'clock. And around 1 o'clock we will start our scenic cruising, where we are going to maneuver a little bit and get as close as possible to the monument. I will be back at noon with a noon announcement and some extra information. Have a great morning and stay warm.
And the closer we get to Elephant Island, the more wildlife we're spotting. Here are a group of penguins splashing and porpoising about in the water. And while we're eating lunch, a pod of whales appears between us and a nearby island. I'm not sure what kind of whale it is, but I didn't see a fin on it, a big fin, so I'm thinking this is a right whale, a different type of whale than we have been spotted. The others had fins, so I think those were blue whales or humpback whales, but this one appears to be a right whale. And we have neighbors again. Don't know the name of this ship, but it's fairly small, and I'm not sure I would want to be crossing the Drake Passage in this if the seas are rough. And as the fog starts to lift, Elephant Island starts to come into view. And we've learned from one of our recent lectures on the ship that this is also where Ernest Shackleton and a few of his men were held up for several months in essentially rowboats. They turned the rowboats over and slept underneath them. This until an Argentinian ship finally rescued him. He went to Argentina and got another ship and went back to rescue the remaining men that were left in Antarctica. And judging by the penguins we're seeing in the waters, we must be getting close to another penguin colony. And luckily, I caught a little better shot of them this time. So I took a picture and slowed it down and zoomed in on them a little bit just so you could see how that they swim. And you can see them under the water a little bit as they move along. But this is a larger herd, this heading off toward the island. I could sit for hours and watch the penguins swim in the water. Well, I did sit for hours and watch them swim in the water, but I didn't mention anything about the scenery. Yeah, as you watch them swim, take no notice of the icebergs and glaciers in the background because after 4 days, they become old news. We've seen icebergs all along and glaciers all along. And we've seen penguins all along too, but still have to watch them. And remember I told you about Shackleton being marooned on the island for several months. It was right here amongst the seals and the penguins. If you look, there's a memorial of him, a bust of Shackleton, right there, only being guarded by the seals and the penguins. And the penguins are everywhere here. This is another penguin colony. And as we pull into the bay right next to the Shackleton Memorial, there's seals and penguins on both sides of the boat, and a glacier directly in front of us. So we're surrounded by all the activity around. We would go from one side of the boat to the other looking at things. Check out this bird that flies in on the penguins at the very end of this clip. I didn't know what kind of bird it is, but it was shown earlier in the diagrams that we saw. It's a snowy sheathbill, and it's a bird that lives off the penguins. It's known to eat baby penguins and all kinds of other nasty things that are around the penguin colonies. And its breeding ground is at the very tip of South America all the way to Antarctica. So luckily, we caught a fleeting glimpse of it and didn't know it. And after looking at all the seals and penguins in the area, you have to also think about Shackleton and his men were here for months waiting to be rescued. And more than likely, you're looking at his food pantry right here on the side of the cliff. Penguins and seals. And of course, you also have to think about, I wonder what they taste like. Yeah, I wonder, a little penguin, not sure what you would make out of him, but it's got to be some sort of stew or something like that you can make out of a penguin. And it seems to be millions of penguins here. Everywhere you look, around the shore, on the cliffs, even up on the peaks of the mountains are penguins, and all along the water's edge are seals, spread out amongst the penguins. I thought they were enemies, but apparently they live peacefully here together. And you wonder why they live at the very edge of a cliff. I reckon oceanfront property is better. In either case, hats off to you, Shackleton. I wouldn't have been able to live here for a couple months. And as we start to back up and cruise away, some penguins have the same thought. Of course, they're iceberg isn't as big as our ship. And on the first day when we got to Antarctica, I made a statement saying that this place was awesome and we will have to come back. Well, after being here for 4 days, I can certainly say we will be back. Either after I retire or perhaps only by rewatching these videos. But certainly we will have to make plans to come back to this place. This is a once-in-a-lifetime adventure usually, and we're still fairly young, so hopefully we can come back here whenever we get older again. Okay, this is the last time we're going to show the penguins jumping through the water. I know I've said it before, but I could watch it all day. This is the last time for sure till we go back. And with that, it's off to the Drake Passage, where that we'll have to see if we get the Drake shape or the Drake Lake. But in any course, it's dinner time, and tonight is a spectacular dinner night. But since we had our lunch at noon, and of course a little snack at around 3, we have to get cookies or pie or something like that around 3 to tide you over till 5:30, and that's what we are now, having our dinner. Of course, everything here is good. And for our appetizer, we both had the spring rolls. And for entrees, I had the beef Wellington, and Cheryl had the brisket. And the entertainer tonight was my favorite of the trip, the illusionist.
Couple of significant things. I got my foot on the bottom. That's important. If it's not there and I pull on this, the whole microphone will come over and bonk me in the face. That might be funny for some of you, so some of you are probably going to watch the microphone, hoping that it hits me. Some of you are going to look at my foot thinking that maybe I'm lying, and I could be. Your job, though, should be watch the handkerchief. Want to see it again? Book another.
It's time for our afternoon tea time. It's about 8:30 and we're having tea. Tea time. Tea time. We're back going north in the Drake Passage, so the waves are picked up again. We'll have to see how big that they get. Right now they're not too bad, but we just got into the Drake Passage, so we'll see later on. Oh, and remember that polar bear plunge that I talked about at the beginning, or the Arctic plunge? Well, this is me jumping in. Yep, I was expecting freezing cold water, but instead what I got was hot water. This water is probably 80 degrees. It's heated. They're cheating. Yeah, it wasn't what I was expecting at all. And of course I swam around a little bit and then got right back out. But still, I can say I did the Arctic plunge, only in a heated pool. Anyway, that is the Arctic plunge. I hope you liked our last day in Antarctica, and continue watching as tomorrow we go through the Drake Passage. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. That'll let us know how well that we're doing and how many people are watching the videos. And thanks for watching.